indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Penardi,
Yes, I'm here.
Mr. Francis, Mr. Young,
Here.
Mr. Thomas,
Here.
Mr. Sari,
Here.
Mr. Snyder, Mr. Kroll, Mr. Hanson,
Here.
Mr. Erickson,
Here.
Mr. Sendra,
Here.
Mrs. Roberts,
Here.
Mr. Thompson,
Yeah.
Mr. Hiller,
Here.
Mrs. McComas,
Here.
and Miss Burns.
Here.
Acknowledge the meeting was properly called and posted.
I'll certify that it was.
I need a motion to approve the minutes from May 25th and June 2nd as presented.
So moved.
I'll
Motion by
second.
Tom Thompson,
Support.
seconded by Kathy Burns, thirded by Pat Hansen. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Communications. I have no communications. Have you, Mike?
No.
Neither do I. And let's go to committee department heads and chairman's report. Let's start off with Tom.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
First off, before I give the stumpage, I would like to thank all the board members that showed up for the dedication out at the harbor. And I'd like to thank Mr. Penardi, who did an excellent job. And Eric, he really did a fantastic job. I mean, if we're gonna lose him, it's probably gonna be for public speaking.
He made a good MC.
He did a great
We had a
job.
good turnout. The weather held up nicely for us too. It really did.
Yeah.
Kind of sketchy at first. It looked like it was gonna let loose. But
It's a great celebration.
So, okay, now I'll get to the stumpage. This year, so far, we got $990,403.61. Last year was $744,542.09. So, not doing too bad.
still quite a bit ahead. Considering that the mills are all struggling.
And we had our spring bid openings. What was the total on that? Do you remember?
Almost $1 million, 900 or something,
Yeah, it was just under $1 million.
946,000 or something like that.
So we're still,
There was quite a few jobs that weren't even bid on. I think there was about 5 or 6 that
There was
weren't
5
even
of them,
bid on.
right.
It was 5. But we still come
But
in.
we sold them later.
Yeah, somebody comes in and grabs a minimum bid and takes one off our hands. Sometimes that's happened before. So we're still doing okay.
that's all I have for forestry and law enforcement. We haven't had them. So I have.
Thank you.
So we made a little progress in development. So I called Kelly, I said, Kelly, I'm making Thursday meetings, can we please change them to Wednesday? He agreed, so it could make life easier for development. That's it.
I got a question for you, John. Did you call Kelly
I
about,
did,
what was his comment?
no problem.
Whatever that was.
Whatever that.
Yeah, whatever.
I called John about maybe Kelly should start calling around trying to get some lumber company or something
Right.
that would try to come in.
Because we talked about it, about the Duluth, what is it? The
OSB. There's an OSB factory
Oh,
opening up in Minnesota up there. And
Right. So,
Tom called me and I said, you need to cut a hold of Kelly. Let him push some folks out, start something going.
I mean, we gotta try something.
his answer was just as you might expect, so there.
I'll just put a fire in it.
Okay.
Pat,
Okay, I'm gonna start out with recycling. We had At our last meeting, we resolved all our problems and we're overweight and stuff. And the next thing coming up for us will be August 28th. It'll be white goods, tires, and stuff like that that will be collected down at the recycling center and in Mercer.
Electronics too?
Yeah,
What's the
like
date again,
that.
Sam?
28th.
I put one of them on the bulletin board.
Yeah.
Same thing they usually do.
We're hoping to have a good drive this time. So.
We missed that last year because of COVID, so we should have a good supply this year. If they don't,
That's
so.
all I have for recycling. Airport. We're right in stage between. We have 3 applicants so far. We have to see what he comes up with before we can.
3 applicants for the new carrier.
Yes. Boutique is having a hard time right now just to keep afloat. They lost a bunch of their pilots. They had, yesterday they had cancellations. I don't know about today. I didn't hear anything. But they're trying to hold the water until somebody else takes over.
Any idea when that's gonna finalize, Pat? Is anything mentioned, like, what?
We're thinking by the 24th of July, we should know as to who's the 3 are gonna be, or how many we get.
So maybe by early August or something might be happening?
Yes, that's a good thing.
That's good.
Pat, do you know who the names are, or are they all closed bids at this point?
Nah, I know that the old carrier was one of them. Possibly Denver Air. And there's one other one out of New Mexico. Possibly.
We had good service with Air Choice One, I hope to get them again. This is my opinion.
And
I know
Denver,
that it's gonna happen because they've got back so far.
Yeah.
They've only got one hub now. So.
They're familiar with our weather in our area. Well, I heard Boutique was blowing the doors off the competition.
Or the tires?
I haven't either. Sorry, I just had to say that.
where's the one?
And
Thanks,
other
Stevie.
thing, we
Thanks
haven't
for putting that on
heard any more
TV,
on
Mike.
These are on TV, right?
contamination.
I just warned Murph to behave.
I heard it was pay-per-view.
I hope it is. What else you got, Pat?
We haven't heard no more on the contamination. Michigan's still working on it. They put in filters on a few wells and stuff like that, covered it. And zoning, we're having a real good summer so far. And you'll see on some of the applications, it's coming up, it's one of the things we had in zoning at the last meeting.
I know Sue's been down there one day a week doing a lot of paperwork processing for them too. I guess it's helping a little bit, is it, Terry?
Absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
And that's about all I have.
that's enough then. Hopefully.
Okay, finance. The road and gate are completed on Germania Hill. And I just heard it took the forestry crew 2 days to do that. And Eric had estimated it would cost about $1,000 a day for the crew to work on the road. So that means that road costs the county approximately $2,000
No.
then? More than that?
Oh, it'll be 10,000 for sure.
Really?
But I mean, here's the point, Opal. It's going from this hand to this hand. You know what I mean? Not, they charge us and we're gonna pay them
Oh,
a check,
okay,
but
okay. But it really didn't cost,
they're gonna deposit it right
yeah,
back in the checking account anyway.
okay,
He just
okay.
charged what all the gravel and that would be. When he was talking about, that was for the hourly rate for the truck and
Right.
that,
Right,
they put a lot of gravel,
Yeah,
and he charges so
That
much
hill.
for, but like I said,
but it still stays in the.
it's always going from one hand to the other.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. We discussed the wage increase and based on $25 an hour and the Wisconsin CPI index forecast for November, it would be about 38 cents. So we recommended 40 cents to be sent to the full county board, which is number 8 on the agenda. I suggested to Joe that he form an ad hoc committee to be set up to research exactly what the 1.1 million in COVID funds can be used for and to draft an expenditure plan for approval by the full county board after they get that plan made up. Because we don't want to have to pay back any of this money.
We're starting a separate expense account.
Good.
So it's easier to track 3 years from now.
Right,
So we started that. We started a collection of stuff that I know that we can spend it on already,
okay.
a separate file. So it's easier to prove what we spend on. So we've already begun the process.
Okay,
I did put some thought into that ad hoc committee, Opal, and you recommended Ken be the chair of it.
Mhm.
Ken and I said we should have people from forestry, highway, human services. If I take all of those people and put them together, we'll have a finance committee meeting again, which is a couple extra people, so what we probably. I need to really look at something. Maybe we need to put the whole finance committee, how many people could we put on there? And a couple of different
well,
committee heads.
I was thinking that the fewer the number, the more thorough research they could do actually.
We really
Because I
need-
didn't want a big group
No, we
to
really
do
need
the
to cover.
research on what to use
Yeah,
it
and
for.
I was thinking right around the reason I brought up the potential of other departments is just to see what kind of projects they might have that.
Exactly.
But you
We
could
need to cover
come
all
and
of
ask
it.
them to come in and
But you're right, you don't
advise.
necessarily need them on a committee.
No.
If we keep the committee small, we just
Right.
reach out and say, human services, what kind of projects do you have?
Right.
Yeah,
Health department, forestry, law enforcement, whatever it is. Yeah, they don't necessarily need to be on.
You
the
guys could have a meeting and call a department heads meeting.
that's
And
what
have
I
them
was,
sit down with you and they could go through.
Yeah, I think
that's
that
what I
makes
was
more
gonna go
sense.
with this. If we took the committee chairs of all the other committees, put them together.
That would be too.
We
large, I
represent,
think.
we
Yeah, I agree.
represent every end of it though, and I don't know.
I would have from 3 to 5. I wouldn't have any
Okay.
more than that,
Yeah, because you'll end up with a quorum of the whole county board, is
really.
what'll happen.
Mhm.
You'll end up with a quorum.
Yeah,
And
you
what you're
you have to
doing
post
is
that.
you're researching what it can legally be spent on
Right.
and then talking to the department heads and say, okay, what's your projects that you
Yeah.
want to see this money?
And the time frame.
Right.
Things have
Well-
to be spoken for by certain times on there.
By the end of 2024, you have to have all your
Right.
projects
Right.
planned,
Right,
then you got 2
Right.
more years to complete it.
right.
26 before you finalize. So we got time to do it once you do it right, so let's put a lot of
Things
work.
do go by
into
do
it.
it right.
quick, also.
We'll put a lot of work into it. Take it from there.
We held negotiations with the road deputies union on the 23rd, and as usual, they got pretty much what they asked for. Hopefully, that insurance thing, the audit thing on our insurance is the last thing they can hold over our heads.
I know. I got a call today
That's
from the union. They did pass it.
Okay,
So it'll be on the next county board again.
okay. Somehow negotiations is not a good word to use because they don't negotiate. They more or less tell
Well,
us
we went
what
back
they
and
want.
forth for a long
We
time.
did
Yeah,
for
an hour.
2
Back and
hours.
forth, yeah.
Yes,
That's a couple of hours.
But
okay.
it-
Go ahead.
Ended up back where we started.
You did. Human Services, we held the required public hearing on the programs available for Human Services and asked for public comment. No comments were made. During the regular meeting, Kelly explained the representative from the Department of Children and Families will be willing to attend a county board meeting to answer questions anyone might have about Human Services and how it is being managed. Board members have been sent an email requesting questions for DCF. If you have any questions about the job Callie and her staff are doing or not doing, now is the perfect time to ask them. The committee approved the hiring of the only applicant for the children's social worker position. She interviewed well, and during the interview, one of the employees explained to her what the job really entailed. Fortunately for us, she still wanted the job. She will not be able to officially start until late August, but will train for 2 days each week until then. Aging will have a.
And one quick question on the human services thing. I'm encouraged that we can ask questions if anybody's got concerns about what's happening on the human services side, and DCF's willing to come up and have a conversation.
Right.
My only question is, for routing the questions, should we have the ability to send it right to DCF versus?
That's where they're gonna go, Ken.
Well, I mean, versus sending the human services person, they route them?
Diane, is there a way to have a contact number so that people can contact DCF directly?
I will see if I can get that
Okay.
and have Kelly forward.
Okay. Thanks, Diane.
Are you thinking they're not gonna send the questions out?
No, they're busy enough, so.
I thought maybe you thought they were gonna screen them and only send the good ones out.
And we did have, I think Kelly in that email had options for sending confidential. You know, so you didn't have to identify yourself if you didn't want to, but I will pass this along to Kelly.
Aging will, go ahead.
Questions, and then we can answer, have them come next month. Talk.
Aging will have a soft opening for meals in Hurley soon. This will be an opportunity to find out how well the people adjust to the new routine caused by COVID. I would like to read excerpts from the May 17th Human Services Minutes. This is the Children and Families update. Penardi asked an employee, is there anything we could have done differently, or was there anything we did wrong? This person was leading Human Services. The answer was no, and she explained that because we're such a small agency, workers are required to know and do every part of child protective services, youth justice, foster care, kinship care, child welfare, and crisis. In larger agencies, workers are able to specialize in one area, but we don't have that luxury here. The knowledge required is so extensive. All the programs operate under different statutes, and you have to know it all. It's too much and is not sustainable for a long period of time. She added, another part of the job that she found extremely frustrating is the lack of cooperation from partner agencies. She said other agencies refuse to do what they're supposed to do or go against us and make it extremely hard for us to do our jobs. She felt very supported by both Teresa Way and Callie Bucknell. If it hadn't been for their support, she wouldn't have lasted this long. She truly loved her job, but it's just way too much. I heard the comment that somebody said, well, she had to say that. She was saying it in front of Callie and Teresa. No, she did not have to say that, because she could have refused to attend the meeting at all if that was the way she felt. Teresa informed that she had 2 high-needs children in placements that were unable to stay in the placement they were in, and she'd been unable to find new placements for them. Iron County is the guardian of both of these children, so they are our responsibility. She called every child placing agency in the state, and nobody will take these children. She then reached out to the state, and they responded that they have no solution or advice to offer. It was our problem. A lengthy discussion took place and questions were answered regarding where the system is falling apart. Way echoed the employees' report of other agencies not working with us, making it impossible to do their jobs, and sometimes making it impossible to meet the requirements of the state statutes. She also said it's too much, and there are days when she's ready to walk away too. These are the people that at the meeting on June 2nd, there was one question on the agenda, and that was whether or not to get outside legal help for CHIPS and PPR. It turned into I don't know what to call it, a tirade against Human Services and Callie and her staff. There was a concerted effort by outside forces to get Callie out of Human Services. And apparently some board members were listening to these people, and they think the same way. I had received a phone call from one of these people, a long phone call. And she said during the conversation that Callie Schneider had been hired for human services. And if I wanted confirmation of that, I should talk to one of the people who had previously worked for human services. But when she told me her name, I thought, well, that is strange, because this employee worked for human services and applied for the job of director when Carolyn was leaving. And Callie got picked over this person. So this person's comments would not have been very objective. And if people thought that Callie leaving would be a good thing, then maybe that's because they thought they had somebody in the background that could step in and take her place. You heard Callie's statement about why they needed outside legal help, but you didn't listen. But you did listen to the complaints from these outside forces who are doing everything they can to get Callie out so they can replace her with someone they can control. Maybe this previous employee. Your vote on whether or not to get outside legal help should have been taken before the public comments, because I'm pretty sure that the public comments influenced that vote. And that's why that went against human services. Your vote to deny human services legal help was wrong for so many reasons. And for that reason, human services has been attacked both in social media, by sending people up to the department to make more trouble for them. In every way they can think of, they're being attacked. The state, when they asked the state what they could do about it, the state suggested that they get a restraining order against these people. I don't know how that's coming along. I think Callie asked legal counsel what could be done. I could say more, but I'm sure you're hearing me, but not listening to me. Diane, would you or Teresa would like to make a comment? Would you like to add anything to what I just said?
Well, I'm just here if anyone has a question that I may be able to answer. I'm here.
Well, I'd like to make my opinion known too, because you just gave your opinion as to what you heard.
Right.
I sit on this board and I heard something altogether different. I heard that we wanted to replace our present situation, which is now beefed up to 2 individuals to handle problems that one was handling previously. But yet you wanted to hand it over to another single individual to handle, who's probably overwhelmed with other stuff. We're not reading the same book here. You're giving your opinion, which I appreciate. You're entitled to it, as I am, and all the other board members. If I recall, the vote was what, 14 to 13?
8 to 4.
Well, it was in our favor. What we did was just right. Board members here are not dumb. They appreciate what's going on. We know one thing that everybody we seem to be glossing over. Do we have one meeting?
I asked for a report, a monthly report from Human Services to see if it's getting any better. And if it doesn't get better, if it doesn't start going the right direction now, then we'll have to act on it again. But I think we're just beating a dead horse right now.
We are, but let me make one
Let's wait until the
observation.
next month and wait until the report comes back from Human Services, whether it's being improved or not.
Joe Opal started out by saying that it's a small town, small community, and we still are understaffed. I heard that every meeting we had. Anybody wanted to deny that this is what's been said? I had asked for additional people. We had the great news that Kelly's department did a wonderful job last year, which I give them credit for, saving us $1.2 million. So that means we can now staff more people. Now the excuse is, well, where are they? There are no other people. Well, are we trying to staff more people? I think we start there, Opal, and see what kind of progress we get.
John, they ran an ad for 2 different openings. We got 3 applicants.
Keep
and
running ads.
2 were not qualified.
Try outside sources like Indeed or any of those other ones that.
We were on Indeed, we were on the entire UW system, we were in both local newspapers, we were on the Job Center and the Wisconsin Jobs site.
Let me just finish by saying, we know you're overworked. Nobody's complaining that you're not, you're way overworked. We're a small department in the state of Wisconsin. You guys work your butts off. We give you credit for that. but we still are not fixing the indigenous problems, and that is we don't have enough staff there. We need another couple people to share that load, so. all
Problem
the
we were
stuff that-
trying to address, John, is the dead end road where it sits on the end of the hall down here and it wasn't going any further. If you had, the more cases that are coming down, or it isn't gonna lighten the caseload on the end of the office, but now he has an assistant, we're gonna wait and see if it starts moving forward.
Give us some time.
You know, that's what we're hoping for. We're hoping for a monthly update from Human Services and we'll take it back to the table.
Okay.
Just keep this in mind. Hiring people is expensive. We're spending more money every year than we're taking in. We can only do that so long.
Again, I heard a number of 1.2 million. Was that right or wrong? Is that?
I don't know what you mean by
We
what.
had a human services meeting that Kelly did a wonderful job, and I agree. You heard it, Joe. You were there.
There was something
And I made a suggestion at that time that we hire more people now that we have the money.
came in under budget, but this is the reason we're talking about a referendum for next year. too.
What money are you talking about? COVID funds?
No,
Whatever they.
Human Services came in under budget.
Came in under
It was a
budget.
combination of lower placement costs and additional funds that we were able to apply for and obtained because of COVID. So it was a combination of things, but yes, we came in quite a bit under budget.
We'll, in a few months, we'll see how we sit when I have the numbers on. I'll let you guys know first.
Thank you.
And if I may, just so for clarity, myself being the manager of CPS, Youth Justice, Foster Care, Kinship Care, and any of the other programs for under the age of 18, I still maintain an active caseload since the day I took the management position. And we have two CPS and youth justice workers. Right now, we have one. So when you think of child protection and services, youth justice, all the referrals coming in that you can't ignore, there is myself and one other entity for 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
You're proving my point. Exactly. Thank you.
But so to come in under budget says the work that was
agree.
put in.
Nobody's criticizing you for not doing a good job. I support you and I commend you.
I get that, Mr. Sandberg, but there is criticism, and I did see it.
The criticism, you heard it right at the beginning. You don't have enough staff, period.
You know,
That's where we need to start.
Now, John, you said that there should be an investigation into how. Human
Jamie and
Services
Francis
being
originally
run.
said that. I confirm, and look, when things are going wrong and they're not changing, the definition of insanity is do the same thing and expecting different results, Opal. That's the definition. Why are we doing the same thing expecting different results? We're still understaffed.
let's move on and let's talk about this after we address it from the next report from the next month's Human Services meeting, okay?
That was all I.
Can I say one thing?
Go ahead.
Why don't we, as a community, try to help Human Services?
Why don't we?
And the parents raise these kids right. Try to raise them right. And if you're a neighbor and you see the kids doing something wrong, little Johnny's out of control, kick him in the ass, like we got kicked. Straighten them up.
Hey,
Then
as
there
a
wouldn't
school
be so
teacher,
many-
I'm telling you, you can't do that anymore.
Those days are gone. How old
You
are
can't do
you?
that.
I'm just saying, I think it's a
No.
community, you can help them.
You probably have several people agree with him.
I'm
There wouldn't
thinking
be so
they're all
many
gonna agree
referrals.
with them.
We wouldn't have as many referrals.
No, you're 100% right, Murph. That's what happened in the old days. That's why we're like we are.
Hopefully you got anything else?
It's true.
Oh,
We need,
can I just,
move on.
I
Yeah,
didn't
okay.
get a chance. So you were talking about the DCF questions to Callie. The deadline for those is July 6th, so she can get them to the state and they can figure out who they're sending out. That was their request. But again, I will pass the DCF contact question along to Callie. And then the only other thing I wanted to say is just to remember that Human Services cannot respond to a lot of what is being said, whether it be at a meeting, on social media, whatever. We cannot respond to a lot of it, so,
So you can't defend yourself.
we cannot, but we have asked over and over, if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you don't understand how something works, please come see us. You are welcome to come up and talk to any worker in our agency, whether it be county or contract. We do have, of course, confidentiality, so if there's clients in the building, you'll be maybe escorted around the long way or something. Whether you're a board member or anybody, you're escorted to our office. You're not just, you can't just walk willy-nilly, and that's even if a state person comes up. And that is because we have clients. So feel free to come up and talk to our employees anytime. Learn about these jobs. Come and see what goes on. That's all we ask.
Okay.
And I think, I don't know what the board's gonna do, but I'm backing Kelly until I see otherwise. I ain't letting her ass ain't hanging on the breeze. No.
I agree with you 100%.
Yes.
Let's move on.
All right.
Bill,
I don't have anything.
you got nothing?
After last night's meeting, no,
Okay.
not gonna get into it.
Highway doesn't have, we're doing County B. Mike's been pounding the gravel there since the crusher came. I'm working on 2 Mike's on B. There's 3 spots in B that we were gonna stop and skip. But me and Mike decided that we're just gonna overlay them with 1.5 inches and make that a whole road. Instead of having them half a mile and then skipping, we're just going through.
That makes sense.
It does
Right,
make
highway
sense.
up, Murph. I had a call from someone. You guys are the ones that are blacktopping from the credit union.
Yeah.
County B, right? They were criticizing the length that you're holding back
I hear ya.
traffic way too far. You're blocking traffic, blocking driveways and everything. Could you get the word back to start making a little shorter?
Yeah, we are.
Something, okay.
Like at the DPR, but it's crazy.
I know.
We should have did it last year when there was COVID. There was nobody out. There's people everywhere.
We were on our way to a tour to Enbridge and Pat got stuck in a traffic jam for how long, Pat? 30 minutes he had to wait before.
If you're going from here to Duluth, you gotta wait through, yeah. There's orange barrels everywhere.
There's a couple more spots west of us that are like in Superior, and there's another one in River.
Yeah, we should be happy US 2 is getting done.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Deal with the breakups. Finally gonna get some roads up there.
That's all? Murph?
You know, that's all on the highway. We didn't have a meeting when me and Mike just made that call. Like you said, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Okay, let's carry on.
Good idea.
Any public comment?
Let me bring this up. I put that on your desk just so you can see there was $67,000 ahead of last year.
On the sales tax?
Huh?
Sales tax?
Yeah, 67,000 ahead of last year. That's really good.
And this is just starting.
More to come.
So that's why I put that on your desk.
You can all thank Amazon.com. There it is. Okay, let's move on. Let's set the employees' raises.
So do we have a public comment yet? It is public comment.
Oh, I didn't see your hand go up. I'm sorry, David.
For him to
Oh.
be,
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to make a comment.
Okay, is it something regarding the sanctuary?
Yes,
Why don't you wait till we get down to that line and
Okay.
I'll let you open up then, okay?
that would be great, thank you.
Is anybody else got
Mine
any?
is the same subject.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was gonna wait until we got down there and before we act on something, I was gonna ask anybody had any comments that they would like to add to that.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any other public comments besides what's on the agenda?
Steve here.
Hearing none, let's move on then. Set the employees' raise for 2022 at 40 cents an hour. That was from the finance.
I'll
Committee.
make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Scott, seconded by
Well,
Bill.
what's percentages?
So I can't.
Let's do a roll
It
call. on
was
that
just
one, 'cause we have no
2%.
money.
It was 2%.
Roll call.
Almost 38 cents.
Yeah. 2% was 38 cents. We moved it to 40.
Isn't the cost of living higher than that?
No, not yet. No, if you
Not yet.
looked at all the CPI numbers, actually it's less.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah.
believe it or not.
You're talking, it's gonna go up, but we'll have to
But
address
the current
that when it goes
CPIs
up.
are like 1.7, weren't they? I think when we looked at them all.
We
So-
used November's numbers.
Yeah, they're
It was
projecting
1.5.
Yeah,
1.5.
yeah.
November 1.5. You have, get a copy of the CPI index in your packet.
So we were,
You've got one in your,
You You got one in there.
Got one good eye, one bad.
Uh-oh.
Fine print.
Okay, you want a roll call?
Yeah, roll call.
Mr. Penardi,
Yes.
Mr. Francis is not here. Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Sari,
Yes.
Snyder's not here. Mr. Kroll is not here. Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Mr. Erickson.
Yes.
Mr. Sendra,
Yes.
Mrs. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
You betcha.
Mr. Hiller,
Yeah.
Mrs. McComas,
Yes.
and Miss Burns.
Yes.
Motion carried.
2.5.
Here's a resolution declaring Aaron County a Second Amendment sanctuary county. Did anyone have a chance to look at the resolution on our board and see if there's any changes needed to be made or anything that was supposed to be addressed? And so we put it in your table for that purpose.
I'd like to start off with a quick comment on it. So to my esteemed colleagues, I'd like to offer some thoughts on this resolution we're going to vote on tonight. I believe the Second Amendment sanctuary resolution could set up a potentially dangerous precedent. I am a gun owner. I believe strongly in the Second Amendment and the constitutional protection the U.S. citizens have the right to bear arms. The last paragraph of the resolution states, and I quote, that the people of Iron County, Wisconsin do hereby oppose the enactment of any legislation that would infringe upon the right of the people to keep and bear arms and consider such laws to be unconstitutional and beyond lawful legislative authority and an act of tyranny. So let's think about that statement. If we pass this resolution, we are declaring that Iron County opposes any legislation that might come through as it relates to firearms. Any. Not some, or not that we would take up a discussion on the potential changes and the impact of Iron County, but that we would oppose any kind of change. In fact, the resolution states that Iron County would declare any law changes to be acts of tyranny. New laws or regulations introduced at any level go through a vigorous process that include checks and balances. That process does not fit the definition of tyranny. I would counter and state that if, as a county, we decide to act on our own and publicly state in writing that we plan to ignore any changes to existing laws or any new regulations that are passed through said due process, well, that action better fits to this definition of tyranny. Nobody's coming for our guns, Iron County. With that said, I am going to vote no on this resolution.
Actually, the reason that I handed this out at our last meeting, Ken, was so everyone could take it and see if they wanted to do it with this, if there's any changes that wanted to be made before we passed it or voted it down. And I haven't heard anybody say anything different about it, any changes to it. So is there any changes we want to make before we talk about it? Apparently you've got some changes you want to make on it. Is there anything
Well,
else?
on the agenda today, it says resolution is declaring Iron County a Second Amendment sanctuary county. That's not discussing whether or not we want any changes. On the agenda, it says resolution that tonight we are going to declare Iron County.
I didn't type out the agenda, Ken. I just handed it out on the last meeting and said, let's discuss this at the next meeting with him, see if there's any changes that we need to be made.
Yep, you want the agenda.
Well, I'd like to put in my commentary, Ken. Very nice that you took the time to consider this, and I'd like to remind you, we do have a constitution. What you just said is contra to the Second Amendment of the Constitution. Very much is. So, do you remember any of your history of Second World War, what happened and how Hitler disarmed Europe? Very simply, he said, you're not going to have guns, and then he had his way with Europe. It's a slippery slope. We start out with a little increment, then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Everything, why don't we disarm? Why don't we start by disarming those that have guns illegally and are criminals? Why don't we start there?
I would agree. That's a great start to this resolution.
I seen a bumper sticker a long time ago that said, when guns are outlawed, only outlaws will have guns. And
That's right.
And that's the same thing right now. If you ban it right now, there's, the people that are doing the shooting are still gonna have guns.
And we have the US cities to prove it.
Yeah. Peaceful protests, right?
I got a little input too. I think everybody knows my stance on it, but I just want to get into the stats of what's happening elsewhere. So out of the 3,006 counties in the United States, 1,090 passed this sanctuary, which is 30% of all United States counties. And then I'm got the stats of area states. So Illinois, 69 out of 102 counties passed this resolution. Michigan, 50 out of 83 counties passed this resolution. Minnesota, 15 out of 87 counties passed this resolution. Wisconsin, 17, and there's still some pending, out of 72 counties passed this resolution. 15 states passed this resolution. Wisconsin actually passed this resolution, but so there's an expected veto from the governor. And out of all of these, there's only been one judicial review. That's in Columbia County, Oregon, that they just started May last month, and it's still pending.
How many counties out of 72 in Wisconsin are passed?
17, and there's more pending.
17 out of 72?
Out of 72.
I think there's like 15 or 20 that are still pending, right?
Still pending, yes.
Are they all the exact same language?
Very similar, yes. This is similar with everything else in the state of Wisconsin.
I've got a statement I'd like to make. This is a statement from a young person that I work with. She couldn't be here tonight, but she asked if I would read this for her. She says, from the viewpoint of a young adult in the county with hopes of returning after college as a teacher, I'd like to express my opposition to the Second Amendment resolution being discussed and voted on tonight. When it comes down to it, most of the people in this room aren't going to have to experience the results of the passing of this resolution, so I'd at least hope that youth input is taken into account when making this choice. I myself am a hunter. I hunt deer, turkey every year, and I like to go out to the shooting range every now and then. But as it stands right now, I feel no threat to the hunting rifles and shotguns in my home. The general consensus of the resolution being voted on, as I understand it, is mostly concerned with keeping our hunting guns, but the downfall is where it protects those with assault rifles and military weapons. Those are the exact things that shouldn't be put in the hands of the public. That's why they are called militarized weapons. They belong in the military, not in the average person's gun safe. If someone in the military has to go through 3 months of training just to use a weapon like that, why should someone in the general public have such easy access to them? Being a recently graduated high school student and now going to college, I am realizing more and more the ignorance people have settled for with school shootings and the fear students and teachers have to live with because of laws like these that allow people to own weapons that could hurt a lot of people in a very short amount of time. I myself know that fear, having had to listen to the news about the shootings that have occurred and worry about my friends that are away at college while also having thoughts hundreds of times over what I would even possibly do in a situation where someone opened fire on a bunch of innocent people at my school. And to be honest, I would have no idea what I would do. I wish that that as a county board, you'd worry more about the lack of mental health services and think of better ways to keep youth in the county than worry about your guns. Youth leave this community because they see no opportunity. So is this resolution really what we should be worrying about right now? It shows where the priorities of this county's leadership lie. Not youth to the county, but how to protect our precious guns. It's sad to see that the concerns of this meeting are focused on such things as that. And I hope that in the future, more important topics will be discussed and time spent more wisely.
Thanks, Neil. Is there anybody else on this board that wants to add anything to this before I ask questions to the people in the public here?
I'd like to speak up in response to that young lady's letter. My parents lived in Europe during the Second World War. My grandparents, they went through an awful lot of atrocity, went into concentration camps and things of that nature, all because they were disarmed. This young lady sees a perspective of what she sees on television.
No, she sees what she experiences in high school.
May I finish?
Not in our school.
Listen.
Not yet.
Law-abiding young man, law-abiding citizens did not go into school to kill anybody. Those were criminals or mentally insane. Look at the news reports. See what's going on.
99% of them told somebody before they were going to do it. It was their peers that would not speak up.
Exactly. The FBI many times screwed up because they didn't enforce the laws that are on the books. This is great. Whatever you want to call it, the diatribes that she went through. I believe it all because you hear it on television all the time. But the reality of it is the ones that were shot and killed, that were killing people, were killed by an officer that had a gun or an armed citizen that had a gun. That's how the violence stopped. Let's not forget that. Let's remember every detail, not just the ones we like to
espouse in front of
Thank
everybody.
you for dismissing her comments and her fears as a student in the
Look,
schools.
she is a
Ms.
student.
Sencha, thank
She
you
is
for
a
dismissing
student.
her.
There's more of history and guns than what a student in high school knows. They don't even teach history in high school anymore.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
We're stepping on toes now.
I know, but do you hear it? Do you see it?
I do it every day.
I don't hear anybody saying when it comes to gun arguments that, did you remember? I'm the only one that remembers it. I had history when it was taught the right way. I knew what happened during WW2.
Wow.
Okay?
Okay, we're gonna.
You're saying it never happened.
Mr. Sendra, I hate to have to disagree with you. You know
Hey,
how
this is
much I
America.
love you. But here's the deal. It says that Wisconsin affirms its support of the sheriff to exercise sound discretion to enforce existing gun laws and not to enforce against any citizen an unconstitutional firearms law. So this resolution sets up the sheriff as the one and only person who gets to decide whether a law is unconstitutional. There are three branches of our government in democracy: the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. And the legislative branch creates the laws, the executive enforces the laws, and the judicial interprets the laws. If the legislature were to, for example, ban the conversion kits that people use to render a weapon fully automatic, then it would be the job of our 7 state Supreme Court justices and our 9 federal Supreme Court justices to decide whether or not that law is unconstitutional.
Not quite.
It would not be up to our one and only county sheriff to decide on this matter. His job is to enforce the law, not to interpret it. I'd also like to say that this is a blatantly political issue, and we are supposed to be a nonpartisan board. If you open the door to this, the next thing you know, someone is going to introduce a voter sanctuary resolution. And we'll be telling each town clerk that they get to decide whether or not certain voter suppression laws are unconstitutional.
Like voter ID?
Like, I don't want to get into the details. I'm just saying that these are two different political sides. What you're doing is you've got a resolution that comes directly from talking points of one political party. Do you want other resolutions to come from other talking points from the other political party to come down the pike here? I think that our authority as a county board comes from being nonpartisan. If we were partisan, people would be thinking that we had ulterior motives for deciding things the way we do, but we are nonpartisan. We are trying to make our decisions according to what is best for the county.
For 200 years or better, our Constitution served us well, and I'm very partisan when it comes to the Second Amendment. And guess what? It served us well. It kept us free, the land of the free and the brave. And what you're saying is you're against the Second Amendment?
Oh, no, I'm not against the Second Amendment. I am against conversion kits that make weapons fully
I don't
automatic.
think we're talking about that.
Oh, yes.
You're bringing
we
in
are
another
right
issue we're not
here.
talking about.
Okay, so let's stop the arguing, okay? My phone's been ringing off the hook for anybody that had voted me into Ward 2 in the city of Curly, and everyone that called me so far is against this sanctuary. I'm gonna have to be against them because these are people that elected me in my ward.
I got calls from your constituents calling
I'm
me.
gonna show them that I respect their decision. Does anybody else out there have anything that they want to say? Are you guys on the board through talking? You got something to say, Kathy?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I have received calls at home also, and the people that voted me in District 1, they're against this also.
Okay.
And I'll be voting no.
Oh.
Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I'm Paul Hageman, local dentist. I've taught Boy Scouts gun safety. I've put on outings for youth shooting to promote gun safety, but I'm in opposition of this. I think it's just a divisive measure, and it's just based on fear. Fear now is what's caused all our gun shelves to be empty. Try to buy ammo if you want to go out hunting now, you can't find it. People are hoarding, and that's driven by fear. I think this amendment, this resolution would just add to that fear. So I'm against it. I'm a proud gun owner too. I've had it all my life, but I just don't see the need for it because I don't think it's common sense.
I have a
It's common
cabinet
sense.
full of guns at home too, but I'm also on that line. Dave, you got something to add or?
Yes, I do. For those of you who don't know me, I'm David Walta. I live in Ward 2 in Montreal. I hunt, I fish, I own 9-10 guns. I am opposed to you guys even having to consider this resolution. I have 2 questions for you board members. Where in the Constitution of the United States does it say a county has the right to overrule a law passed legally by the federal government? Where does it say that in the state constitution?
It doesn't. But it also says,
Wait a minute. Well, I'm not done yet. Let me stay on my track, please. In our country, the form of government we live under is called federalism. The states have given the federal government the power to pass laws, but they have to prove they have to have a vested interest in what they're going to pass. They can't just willy-nilly pass anything that they like. The states are always supreme. However, we have courts that adjudicate that kind of stuff, and you're going to pass a resolution on things that haven't even been passed yet. I think that's insanity. My second point is that during the tenure of our last president, there were a number of cities passing sanctuaries to provide protections for illegal migrants. Every Republican in this country was running around with their pants on fire, opposed to that, including Ted Cruz and Mr. Hawley. The President of the United States threatened to take away funding from those cities. He also threatened to send in the federal military. Now, if it was wrong for them to set up those sanctuaries, why is it now right for you guys to do the same thing? Somebody needs to explain that one to me.
May I?
Go ahead, John.
Apples and oranges, you're comparing 2 different things. Those things that you described were never done.
No. That's just political nonsense.
Sanctuary cities exist.
John.
yeah.
Follow your facts.
Let's let the people out there that are, we already had our turn to speak. Let's listen to these people. Go ahead.
Tilly, home from Loma, and I've been involved in this resolution before. I live in Florida in the winter, here in the summer, and Florida has a number of resolutions. I've had the they've been using one resolution, and I think it will answer some of your questions. If you would indulge me and let me read it to you, it's not too long, but it's up to the chairman whether or not he'd indulge me to read it. It is a resolution.
How long
from
of a
Florida for
thing are
another
you talking
county
here?
that was taken. It was presented by some young people in Florida to the county board. And
Well, let's hear it. Let's see how long it's gonna take you before you.
all right. A resolution of the Board of County Commissioners, Levy County, Florida, declaring Levy County a Second Amendment sanctuary. Whereas the Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of our nation, and whereas the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution states, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And whereas the U.S. Supreme Court found in Miranda versus Arizona, 384 U.S. 436, 1966, that where rights secured by the Constitution are involved, there can be no rulemaking or legislation which would abrogate them. Whereas the U.S. Supreme Court in the District of Columbia of Heller 554 U.S. 570, 2008, affirmed that the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms is an individual right that does not require service in a militia, and whereas the 14th Amendment to the Constitution states, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws, and whereas the U.S. Supreme Court in McDonald versus City of Chicago 561 U.S. 742 2010 affirmed that a person's Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms is further secured and binding on the states by the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. Whereas the U.S. Supreme Court found in Prince, United States 521 U.S. 898 1997 that the federal government cannot compel law enforcement states to enact or administer federal regulations as it would disrupt the principle of dual sovereignty by increasing the power of the federal government beyond that which is allowable or permissible. And whereas Article 1, Section 8 of the Florida Constitution states that the right of people to keep and bear arms in defense of themselves and of the lawful authority of the state shall not be infringed, except that the manner of bearing arms may be regulated by law. And whereas, due to the dual sovereignty of the U.S. Constitution, the federal government has no authority to enforce state laws, and states cannot be compelled to enforce federal laws. And whereas the 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution states the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. And whereas the last protectors of the U.S. Constitution are the people of the United States of America, and our ability to fulfill that role successfully rests on our Second Amendment rights. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners by Levy County. Section 1, the above recitals are true and correct and incorporated by this resolution. Section 2, the Levy County Board of Commissioners hereby declares Levy County as a Second Amendment sanctuary in order to preserve for the people of, on, and in Levy County their rights guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States of America. We, the people of Levy County, Florida, through this resolution hereby declare our rights, our freedom, and our liberty as guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States of America. The resolution will become effective upon being adopted. So basically what it's telling you is that the Supreme Court saying this is all right for them to do this. And it should be. We should be protecting our rights. We should be not talking political. because there's too much political involved in it. There are too many people who want to infringe on the rights of the people that are on it. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Joe. Anyone else?
My name's John Oken, and I'm from Cary. I got a million and one things I'd like to say, so I'll try and keep it short. If change requires action, which is why I'm here. I want to start coming to these meetings a little bit more, and this is why I put my public comment in. Tanner, I don't think it goes far enough, honestly. The Constitution, in my eyes, is for the most part dead. The federal government is infringed on almost all of the amendments of it. And like you were saying, a state has the right to follow its own laws and not the federal government's laws. And this is why I support Tanner's idea, but I don't think he goes far enough with it. And I'll keep it short and end it there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No one else?
I'll make a motion to pass this resolution.
Second.
Motion by Tanner, supported by John Center to pass this resolution. Let's do a roll call on this one. First, no.
Mr. Penardi,
No.
Mr. Youngs,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas. No. Mr. Sari,
Yeah, pass it, no. Sorry.
Mr. Hanson,
No.
Mr. Erickson,
Yes.
Mr. Sendra,
Yes.
Mrs. Roberts,
No.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Hiller,
Yes.
Mrs. McComas,
No.
and Ms. Burns.
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 7 to 5 not to pass it.
7 to 5, no.
It fails. Yeah, because there's only 12 here.
Very nice.
2, 3, 4.
Motion failed. Next are the petition to amend the land use ordinance Title 9 creating a service. This is for that deer sanctuary or the deer farm thing that we're talking about. This is pertaining to that. We had to extend our moratorium. That's what this is all about.
I'll make the motion to approve that.
Motion by Ken,
I'll support.
seconded by Bill. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Ordinance for ATV use on State Highway 169 in Gurney and 122 in Saxon. This is stuff that has, even if they want to approve this through the highway department, this has to go to the state for final say.
And we needed the ordinance to do it.
We need the ordinance in place
Shame
to
on
do it.
I'll support.
Motion by Bill, seconded by Coach to pass this. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Resolution to approve a road use permit to Joe Francois.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Scott Yarson, seconded by Bill Thomas. Support that. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Cancel the tax deed in the town of Pence.
I'll approve that.
By Tom Thompson,
I'll support.
seconded by Tanner, thirded by Bill Thomas. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Resolution to cancel a tax deed in the town of Mercer.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Opal,
Support.
seconded by John. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Seconded. Opposed? Motion carried. Resolution canceling the tax deed in the town of Gurney. Motion by Pat Hansen,
Support.
seconded by John Sender. Again, I couldn't see. Was that you, John?
Yeah.
Seconded by John. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Tanner to adjourn,
Second.
seconded by Kathy Burns. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. This meeting is adjourned.
Spirited discussion tonight, just like the good old days.
You know what, buddy?
Get an hour out of it now.
Now let's get each other's number.